Hi there, everybody, and welcome to our sales presentation. And I know this is very, very important stuff for many of you here. I'm going to give you a look at this. I'm just going to check to make sure that we are actually recording this, and we are. So I'm just going to go back to the screen share now. And let's get underway. You can ask any questions by unmuting your line at any stage as we go through this, or you can wait to the end. And this is probably one of the most important parts of anything that we can share with you. The reason why is because this is where the money is going to come in when you get this right. We call it the growth by design technique, and it's going to start in the top right of your page here, with preparation, then frame control, then story, uncovering, pivoting, pricing, unveiling your irresistible offer, and then a decision. So this is how to actually design your sales presentation. And so I'm going to take you through this bit by bit on our call today, and then for you to ask any questions that you would like to, as I said, at any way through. And I'm not sure if I'm going to see the chat box here, but I'll keep flicking up to the top of the screen so that hopefully it's going to come up when I do that, and I will see the chats there. So let's get into this, and as we've really looked at these around all of the planets. So Pluto, the instrument of development of spiritual will. So this is the spiritual willpower here comes in everything that you do with your presentation, comes down to your preparation on it. So your preparation, number one, is designing your presentation. And for many of you, this is the time where you're going to see exactly how to design it, and then to customize it and obviously practice it. And it's probably best not practicing it live with real people firstly, but practicing it with friends, or definitely practicing it with yourself as well. And what you can do with many of these presentations, especially if you're giving them over the phone or over Skype or something like that, is to actually, and I'm using a document here, but is to actually type in what you actually want below in the presenter notes. And you can actually type the whole script. And I've done a couple of webinars in 2015 where I actually read the whole thing start to finish, and nobody knew the difference. You have to make it sound like you're not reading it, and I'm not reading this at the moment, but you can do it, and it's going to keep you right on track. Make sure you prepare your stationery and your payment gateway. I can't tell you how many times myself I've turned up to things like events and I don't have my stationery with me, the sign-up forms, for goodness sake. And make sure your payment gateway is ready. Make sure anybody who's doing your payments knows that you're ready to do business as well, so those payments can go through quickly. And finally, there is to create and control your environment, meaning this. Let's just say you're having meetings where you're going to sell things in other people's offices. So therefore, what you need to do when you get there is you need to quickly sum up the environment, get rid of the distractions, position yourself, if you're right-handed, to the right-hand side of the person, not over a desk. If there is a desk between you, pull your chair around to their side, or at least to one of the corners so you're not sitting directly opposite. Get rid of all distractions if you can. And that's the reason why cafes are a terrible place to try and do business. And yet a lot of people try and close sales in cafes. Years ago now, we moved from cafes to five-star hotels. And so if we do face-to-face at all to close business, we always do it in a five-star hotel. Why? Because the environment's nicer. Generally, you have better service. And most importantly, the environment is such that you're creating an expectation of the type of service that you're going to give people as well as being five-star. So I know, Gerard, we have you on the call here today, and this is perfect for you to getting people to five-star hotels. A really nice one that you always like, that you use, where you know you can control the environment, is a great place to pitch stuff if you're not pitching in their office or over the phone. So this is preparation. This is number one. This is Pluto on our winding back to the decision, which gets to Mercury at the other end of our planets. So from there, we move to frame control. So what is frame control? Now, Before I go on, I'm just going to go back and say you can screenshot this, but you don't need to, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share a link which gives you this document at the end. So you can screenshot, but I'm going to share a link. So Neptune is where consciousness bursts in everyone. And that's about frame control. And the reason why Neptune and birthing of consciousness is because when you control the frames that you put in front of somebody, you're controlling the birthing of consciousness, of unveiling the ideas that you want to talk about. So one of the ways in which you can do frame control is you can use an introduction video. This is really good, and you see people that are selling apps and online things all of the time. There's some very, very good introduction videos for those type of things. If you've ever seen some of Salesforce's introduction videos, or even LinkedIn's introduction video, or ClickFunnels introduction videos, they're very, very good. I use introduction videos to introduce me all of the time, and I also have them to introduce Rock Your Life. If you want to see a sample of that, go to rockyourlife.net, scroll down the page, I think, and you'll find the introduction video there. Or go to mikehancock.net, click on speaker, and you'll see the introduction video in there somewhere as well. This should be 1 to 2 minutes maximum and should set the scene so the person actually is in the same vibe as you are. Transference is really important. So if you can be introduced by somebody who is seen to be of importance by your prospect, this is a big key. So imagine this. Imagine you've done business with one of the biggest people in a particular industry, and they're actually happy to do that referral and actually then be on the spot. And what I would do is I'd actually do this. I would actually ask them if they could talk to me when I got to the meeting with the new person. So let's set up an example so you understand this. So let's see, who else have we got on the call today? I think we've got Terry on the call. And so Terry, you're going to your meeting, and your meeting is going to be with Gerard. You don't know him. He's on the call as well. He's from South Africa. You guys should meet, by the way, but that's you can do that offline. And what you do is you say to me, Mike, I'm meeting with Gerard at 10 o'clock. Can I quickly call you at 10 o'clock so you can do a formal introduction and just sort of pass me over? I say yes. And then when you get there, you dial my number, you walk in, you're talking to me on the phone, and you shake Gerard's hand, you say, Gerard, hey, I'm just talking to Mike Hancock on the phone. I'll just put him on for a minute so he can say hi. That one action is going to build so much transference, because I'm going to get on that phone. I'm going to say, hi, I'm glad you're meeting with Terry today. She's a really good lady. She really knows what she's talking about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, I'll catch you later. Let you guys catch up, right? So that one bit of transference is really going to set the scene for you. The third part of frame control is creating the alpha state. Now, remember, we are recording this video so that you can go back to this and listen again, or you can run through this stuff with me or Lundy Jack at any future time that you want to as well. So the creating the alpha state is something that I don't see people doing very well. And that really means making sure that they know that you're in charge of the process. So doing things like a little fun games are pretty cool, little fun alpha games. So when you sit there, you, instead of saying, would you like a cup of coffee? Why don't you say to them, why don't you jump up and grab us a couple of coffees while I get it set up? Now you can see the difference there. You've organized the meeting, but you're taking the alpha stance of sending them for the coffee. They follow the direction, and because of that, they're going to follow direction further on. Now you can be really cheeky with this depending on your personality, or if you're online, like many of your calls are going to be, Terry, and many of mine are, I create the alpha state by saying, firstly, I never say thank you. I used to say it all the time. I finally got it out of my thoughts, because thank you is a beta statement. It puts you under the other person. So I get online and say, hi, it's great that you could spend the time with us today to have this chat. I'm going to keep to around about 40 minutes. Let me tell you what I want to try and achieve from this. Boom, boom, and boom. I outline that. I say, you cool with that? They say yes. So now I'm firmly in control. That's creating the alpha state. What most people tend to do is they say, hi, thanks for being on the call today. How's your day going, etc., etc. None of that is going to create any sort of intimation at all that you are in charge. So number 4 is timing sensitivity. This is a really handy one. And this is sort of saying, hey, listen, it's great that we were able to make the meeting today. I've got 40 minutes. So you're not saying how much time have you got. You're saying I've got 40 minutes, so we need to get into this straight away. And then moving that from timing into inducing a yes state of mind. So the types of questions that you could ask, and I agree that this is probably a little cliche, but it really does work. And I use this sometimes depending on the person. So, but it's a great tip that I got from one of my mentors, and they would do it like this. They would say, would you agree that we're both here today to try and find a solution to this, this, and this? Person goes, yes. And they'd say, would you agree that at the moment you're quite unhappy with where you are in relation to A, B, and C? Yes. And are you in a position that if we find something and it's within your budget to go ahead? Yes. Right. So you can see that getting this yes state of mind happening. You see it at events when people say, who here in the room would like to make more money, and everybody raises their hand. That's inducing a yes state of mind. It's a neurolinguistic programming technique, but it really does work. The next part of frame control is uncovering your agenda. So what does uncovering your agenda mean? It means that you have a certain agenda that you take people through. My agenda that I take people through is basically telling them, asking them why they're there, what they're hoping I can do for them, what's going well for them, what's not going so well, digging into those problems from there, and then taking that to the next level of actually asking them what they want to do about that, their budget, etc., etc. And I'm very clear as to whether I expect to do business then and there on the spot or at some later stage. It's always good if you're seeing people to actually have your agenda typed out on a page and put it in front of people, or you can do a screen share if you're doing sales online. And then the 2 other key areas of frame control are the why and the what. So what are those 2? These are the 2 most powerful questions you ask. So tell me, Terry, why did you agree to meet with me today? That's question number 1. Or question number 2 is, tell me, Haddad, what specifically were you hoping that I could do for you? That will be that strong question. And asking those one after the other is really, really important. So with that, let's move on to the next one, which is all about story. And just before I do that, I just want to check in with everybody there that we've got, if we've got any questions, you can unmute your line. Any questions so far on frame control, and ask them. I'd be happy to answer them now if you want to unmute, or else we'll keep going. Or you can type a question into the chat, because I've got the chat box open and off to the side now. Otherwise, we will keep going. Right, let's keep going. And if at the end of this slide you have any questions, do let me know, please. So, story is you have to paint visual pictures. Now, each of these different planets comes after the one before. So if I go right back to our opening slide, preparation is the key. When you get to the meeting, you do frame control. The minute you've done frame control, you get into this story. So what's the story? You must paint visual pictures. It's your hero's journey. Now, if you don't know what the hero's journey is a concept that was brought to the world by Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell realized that basically every hero of every story ever written followed a similar journey. And certainly that's the case with Luke Skywalker, with Frodo, all of those type of heroes. They have the similar journey. Here's the hero's journey in a nutshell. You're living an ordinary life. You meet a mentor. That mentor challenges you to be bigger than what you are. You go on a quest. You're not sure about it. You have these untold things that come at you left, right, and center. You've got to slay a bunch of dragons to do that. You're nearly killed. Maybe you are killed, but then you rebuild yourself. Maybe you go through bankruptcy. Maybe you're in a hospital, something like that. But then you rebuild yourself, and then you start slaying the dragons, and you actually start to find the secret source, the elixir that is the thing that cures everything. And then you come back to the other side, and now everything's fixed and it's good. That's the hero's journey. So what's your hero's journey? If you ever watched a webinar with me, you'll see that I actually go through my own hero's journey in there, which is basically my story that's relevant to the webinar. I don't put in my story that's not relevant. I leave it as my story that is relevant. Why do you tell story? Because people want story. That's why we're addicted to soap operas. That's why we're addicted to reality TV shows. They want to go on that emotional ride with you. They want to understand what your big why is. So all of those sort of things are important. And at this point, you'd give them a case study. So this is a case study based around maybe somebody that you could call it a testimonial. I like to call it a case study because in a sales pitch, using testimonials gives you sort of a level 5 out of 10 sort of pitch on it, but using case studies brings it up to a 7, an 8, and a 9. And so therefore you give the case study and lead that into the solution that you have found yourself. So the whole concept of Uranus, the planet here, is to heighten your intuition and desire to change. And heightening the intuition and the desire to change is the actual thing that story is absolutely about. So with that, let's just see if we've got any questions at all before we move on to the next area. If you want to unmute yourself, and Karen, I muted you because I could hear you clomping around the kitchen there. So you'd need to unmute yourself and ask a question. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Right, let's just move on then. So I like to go back just before we do. So preparation is the key, frame control, telling people what they're going to expect, building you into the alpha state, that sort of thing, putting you in control of the meeting, then out with your personal story. This stuff doesn't need to take long. We're only maybe 1 or 2 minutes into the meeting by the time we're into story and through it. And then we're moving into uncover. And uncover is a very important point. Uncover is basically, you've told your story now, you've done your hero's journey, and then you say to them something like, so let's go back to why you decided to come all this way and meet with me today. What you were looking for was this. And then you specifically said that you were looking for this, this, and this. Is that correct? So you check that, right? And then here's some of the uncovers that I use. I actually ask them what's going well. I do that for 2 reasons. And the reason number 1 is because it sidetracks them, because they always expect you to try and turn up the pain. So I go for the pleasure first. And secondly, is it actually uncovers areas that they're doing well, which you can build on and take your products and services and fitting it in there. Okay, saw your note there, Terry. I'll just have a look at it. Getting into the alpha state for me will be a big shift. It is for most people. You're not alone there, that's for sure. Future pace to the ideal solution. That's what this means. Okay, so what's going well for you? This and this and this is going well. Well, okay, just imagine where you could be. Let's just take you down the track 12 months from now. And in a perfect world, what would you think would be able to be the situation if everything was perfect? And they go this, this, and this. Great, so now you're future pacing. Then, so they say, they've now said, in a perfect world, I want to be here. So then your next question becomes, so if I wasn't here helping you, how would you get there? Now, most people don't have an answer for that, or that once they've said it, they realize that their answer is really weak. So therefore, that leads you into, what are the 3 core issues that you feel are holding you back from getting where you want to go to? And this is where you're really uncovering their deepest stuff here. And you may need to ask this question 2 or 3 different times, or come from different perspectives, or dig deeper here. So they've outlined the 3 issues, whatever those 3 issues are. Generally speaking, they're a lack of time, a lack of resources, and a lack of money. That's generally speaking what those 3 core issues tend to be in all sorts of things. Then you ask them, what did you do before to fix these problems? And what does that cost you? Not meaning, did you buy a course from, I don't know, Brendan Bouchard and done his course? That's not what I mean about the cost. What I mean is that because you haven't fixed this and it's been a problem for you for 3 years, what's the big cost? So therefore, it could be, even if you're in the health field and you're looking to help people lose weight or get more healthy, what have you done before? Oh, I went to the gym, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what did that cost you? Well, you know, it cost me $40 a month. No. Making the wrong decision and doing that, what does it cost you? Well, it's cost me 2 years of, you know, not feeling good. It's cost me, you know, I've put on an extra 10 pounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then you want to weigh up the cost, add the pain to it, and then show them the alternative. And when I mean show them the alternative, you don't go into the how, you just show them the uncover of the basic alternative. So I'll give you an example. So it could be, okay, and this is one that I would normally use. So if you're in this situation, how long have you been in this situation? 3 years. Okay, if you're able to have moved through into the perfect world 3 years ago, how much extra income would you have made? Let's say a figure comes up at $200,000, right? So you have lost $200,000. What else has been affected? Because not only because of the money, what else has been affected? I'm not sure. Okay, well, if you had 200,000 extra, would you still be paying the same amount off your mortgage or bond? No, I would have paid a lot off it. I'd be in a good position. So financially, you're in pain. What else? I'm working a lot longer now because I'm trying to fix this, so I've spent less time at home. So relationship you turn up the relationship pain. Whatever you need to do, you add the cost and then turn up the pain. Then you say, if I could show you a way to do this, this, and this and solve this for you, would that be something that you would like to see? And they'll definitely say yes to that. Okay, so that's why we have this structure in here, folks. Saturn, I love this, the ruler of karma and responsibility. So here's the karma and responsibility in this part. You can really do a whole lot of NLP and really mess with people's heads, but it's going to come back to bite you. That's bad karma. But you have a responsibility to tell people the truth of the situation. I can't tell you how many people I've personally spoke to when we get into the fact that they haven't addressed the main problem, and we actually work out the financial cost of them not addressing it. It's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars sometimes. And sometimes I just shake my head and say, why haven't you done this before? You know, that responsibility to tell people the truth is really core here, but don't manipulate people, just tell them the truth. Okay, so with that, that's the uncover. Let's go back again. So preparation, preparing the environment, making sure you've got all the forms, everything, frame control. So having some sort of introductory video, taking that alpha state there, getting into the story, your hero's journey, the reason why you got into what you got into, how you found your secret elixir, which is the answer to their problems as well, pardon me. And then uncovering their what is really going on for them, what it's really costing, what their ideal situation should be, and turning up the pain a little bit. Then we pivot. Now, pivot means we shift. We do a real shift at this point, because at this stage, what you've done psychologically is that you've turned up the pain. You've got them going, I should have done this years ago, and wow, you know, I wonder if this person can really help me, etc., etc. So now you're going to ask them this pivot. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to fixing the issue that we've been talking about now? Now, this is going to give you a really good insight because, as it says down the bottom there, Jupiter is the role of fusion of head and heart, because their head will be saying, you know, this person's selling me and I'm getting sucked into this sale and all of this sort of stuff, and I wonder how much this is going to cost me, and all those things that you and I would be thinking as well. And their heart will be saying, I know I have to do this, and I know they're here for a reason, and I know that here's the right time. So that's the role of that fusion coming together. And I find that question of scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to actually making a shift? Their answer to that is key for me. If their answer is any lower than a 7 or 8, I won't even try and pitch them. I may even get out of the interview in the next 2 minutes and move on with my life. If their answer is an 8, 9, or 10, and sometimes you get an 11, then you know you've got a person who's really ready. So now, why now? You've got to know the answers to your objections now. So when they say, look, I'm committed, I'm a 9 out of 10. You say, okay, why now when you've done, you know, very little about this before? Well, such and such and such. Say, okay. And then they're going to start looking at some questions for you. They're going to say, well, how can you help me? So you need to know your objections. Or even though you're here and we're having a great chat, you know, I've looked at these types of things before, and what you're doing is very similar to what I've done before, and it hasn't worked. So you need to know the answers to those type of objections. And we're not covering those on this call either. That's something totally separate. 2 case studies are great at this point. And these are the 2 case studies. I would use case studies based on the main objections that you're going to get. So for instance, time is one. How long is this going to take? And Terry, you and I spoke about that earlier. So having a case study on somebody who's been through this process and got a result in a short amount of time is a great idea. Next one is money. So having a case study on somebody who found the money. And, you know, we've had people borrow money off their houses, off friends, of all sorts of things to do this. They're generally the most successful people because they've got more skin in the game. So having case studies on money, on time, and on resources. Somebody who didn't think that they could pull the right team together. Somebody who didn't know how to use the technology that they needed to use, and you getting them through that. And then it's really important, this pivot, that we have a push-pull, some sort of tension. And that tension can be really lighthearted. So I might say, here's tension for you. This is a cool bit of tension. By the way, you won't sell anything unless there's tension. Nobody is going to buy off you unless there's tension. And tension doesn't mean stress. It means a push-pull. It means something going backwards and forwards that can be fun. So I'm going to give you one that I use. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you? And they go, I'm a 7. I go, okay. Tell me one thing that we can do to get you to an 8, because I can't do business with a 7. It's below my value system. Right? So but simply by saying that, they get a laugh, and they'll talk about how they can get to an 8. So they'll be qualifying themselves as how to buy to you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to bold the issue. So bolding the issue means this, saying, look, when we cut to the chase, this is what you've said to me. Is that correct? And then this as for 2 solutions should be ask for 2 solutions. So then you say, give me 2 solutions that you think are going to work for this. The reason why you ask for that is because what you want them to do is you want them to prove to themselves that they don't have the solutions. Because if they had them, they would be implementing them and they wouldn't be talking to you. So you don't have to worry about the question. And then the final part of the pivot thing, and this is the pivot from moving to all about them to starting to move into about you, is, okay, I've listened to that. So would you like me to share how we can serve you? So that's a great question. Would you like me to share how we can serve you? Now, remember, if you want to unmute at any stage, you can ask me any questions or type them into the chat box. That'll be great. Since we haven't had any yet, I'm going to move on. So to pricing, Mars. the desire for the personal and the physical. So this is perfect because, I mean, this spiritual laws around the planets that I'm using, which is one of the reasons this whole setup works so well, because it works on a metaphysical sense as well as a practical sense. This desire for the personal and the physical is exactly what this page is about. It's about you prizing. So here's a graphic of my product. So Terry, I know you're on the call. The triangular graphic that we talked about before is perfect to use in pricing right here, because it's going to make people want what you actually have. And if people want what you have, then you're in the ballpark for sure. So here's my graphic of my product. Let me tell you why it works and its unique selling proposition. Okay, so this is where you need to be really clear on what your USP is. What is it that's different? So for us, you don't just get me, you get myself plus other people. That's a unique selling point. We are truly global. As much as I love some of the big coaches and stuff out of the US, they're honestly not global. I mean, even my mentors aren't global. So being truly global is a USP for us. So what's your USP? Then, whether it's a done with you solution or a done for you solution, most of you are not going to have a done for you solution. So what's a done with you solution? I'm going to take you on this journey. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to do this together. I'm going to help you at this and this and this point. That's your pricing on a done with you. The key in pricing is a benefit of the benefit. So we all know what features are, folks. Features are, I'm looking at a coffee cup that I've got next to me. The feature of it is that it has a handle. The benefit is it's less likely to burn myself. But what's the benefit of the benefit? The benefit of the benefit is that I am not going to spill it on my computer and burn out my system and cost myself $3,000. That's the benefit of the benefit. So when you talk to people in benefits of benefits, you will drive a much more emotional response for them. I'll give you another example. Let's take a product like, let's take consultancy. Okay, so let's take management consultancy. So the feature of management consultancy is it helps you define your strategy. The benefit of that is that everybody in the business is aligned. But the real benefit is that you can now empower your managers to do the job so that you don't have to constantly do it all yourself, right? That's the benefit of the benefit. And then the final thing in pricing is having a takeaway. In other words, a time or a question. In other words, this is something that you could use. You could say, at this point, okay, so here's my graphic of my product. This is our unique selling proposition. We're going to do this whole thing with you. We're going to hold your hand. 2 or 3 of the features are this, but the real benefit is that. And what that really means to you is this, which is the benefit of the benefit. But listen, right now, I'm actually coming to a point where we've taken a little bit longer than what we should have. So I'm actually going to close this down for today, and I'd like to reconvene with you if that's possible. That's a brilliant takeaway. So you're taking the whole solution away, or you can do takeaway with a question. And the takeaway question could be, okay, at this point here, I'm not sure whether it's actually going to be right for you because I'm not convinced you're ready for this level of service yet. Can you tell me 1 or 2 things that will convince me you're actually ready to move to the next level? That could be a question. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go right back to our start here. Preparation, you know what that is. Frame control, uncovering your video at that point, getting the alpha state going. Story, your hero's journey, why you got into this, what your secret elixir is. Uncovering, asking them and driving the pain for them. Pivoting, which is then taking that pain and shifting it to, would it be okay if I share with you how we may serve you? Then into pricing, which is your graphic of your product, and then into your unique selling proposition, but doing a bit of tension in this as well, doing a bit of a takeaway. And now we're going to get into the clear unveiling. So this is where we unveil really what the product does. And it's very, very relevant that Earth is here because this is the physical location of a person's path. That's the spiritual law for Earth. So when you look at this, unveiling is the physical location of the person's path with you. In other words, it's the 5 keys to doing whatever you do that you're going to unveil. It's the one bold reason that's going to change everything. And if you're selling a hard product, let's say you're selling flooring, then at this point here, the unveiling is what it's going to do for your image when you have this flooring, what your friends are going to say, the durability, the aesthetic look, the resale value on your house, etc., etc. So, more about the unveiling, what it will do and what it means is. So when you go to the 5 keys, you say, okay, what these 5 keys are going to do and what that means for you is, and the real benefit of that is, and then you can go benefit for benefit there again if you like to as well. I always put in who this is for and who it's not for. Sometimes both, sometimes just one. And if I do just one, I always do who it's not for. So in other words, you don't want everybody as a client. You want to be fussy, right? You want to make sure that you sort the wheat from the chaff at this point here. Then in the unveiling, 5 keys to such and such. Now, I just want to stop you for a minute. Let's just go forward, as I said before, that year, that 2 years, and just imagine where you'll be if you're able to implement, and we go through and implement this, and this for you. Okay, so that will be a fantastic thing to do at that point there. Then another case study based on the result. So what's the result that you've gotten for somebody? So case studies are testimonials. Hi, Chris. I see you there. You can wave at me if you want. And yeah, there you go. Lovely to have you on the call. And then ask people to qualify. I'm going to mute you. Ask people to just qualify themselves back to you, meaning this. This is what this means. I'll use an example. Since I've got Chris on the call, I'll use your designs as something. So at this point here, unveiling is, here's the 5 ways in which you can use Plato, my design stuff. This is what it's going to do for you, and what that means for you is this and this and this. This is not going to be suitable for you unless you're this, this, and this. Or in your case, you might say, this is totally suitable for schools, old age homes, all of that sort of thing. Imagine where you'll be able to be if you can get the kids engaged, etc., etc. Here's a case study of a result we got in a kindergarten or a school, something like this. But at this point, I'm unsure whether this is actually right for you. Tell me 3 reasons why this can work for you in your business, and get them to tell you. So get them to qualify themselves back to you. If you do that, you're basically getting them to sell themselves and close themselves, and then reassure them that they can have it all, meaning that if they do this, if they go on this journey with you, then they're going to have all of the answers. Everything that they want is going to be there. So in other words, using Chris as an example, if you take on board our products here, not only are you going to have the children engaged, that's going to give your teachers more time. That's going to increase their brain power. You can set homework assignments on this. It's going to engage their parents, which give child-parent bonding time, etc., etc. So reassuring them that they can have it all. So let's just go back to the start again. And on that start, we'll just make sure that we've got everything. I like to do this just so you're aware of the flow of this. And remember that I am going to give you this document at the end of the call too. I'll put a link in the chat. The preparation is making sure you've got all the forms, making sure you've set the environment right, so you're sitting in the right spots, you're in the right place to do the pitch. Frame control is making sure they know you're firmly in charge, that you've positioned yourself well, that you may have had a handover from somebody who your client's going to really listen to, and then moving into your story, your hero's journey, how you came across this, how you battled all the demons. I mean, Chris, you have a fantastic hero's journey of coming up with the idea of going to some mentors, of which we would be one, us encouraging you, but then you're finding it so hard to do this and blah, blah, blah. But then you went to New York and you got into the fashion awards, and then you got into New Zealand wearable art, and all of this worked for you, and then you won awards, and now here you are with this amazing product, etc., etc. So that's the hero's journey. Then uncovering where they're at, so what the problems are that they're facing, the 3 core issues that they've got, and really driving that home in terms of turning up the pain. The pain for somebody in the fashion world could be that they're not up to date. It could be that they're not they're delivering the same things that everybody else is delivering, so they're going into a sea of sameness. It could be that. Then pivoting from that into, well, would you like me to share how I may be able to assist you to get to where you want to go? They say yes, and then that prizing of saying, well, here's my diagram, this is how it works, these are the 3 big things of it, and imagine where you'll be by the end of this, and then unveiling the whole thing, the 5 steps, getting into question and answers with them, getting them to sell themselves while they need it back to you. And all of this sets us up for the irresistible offer. Now, the irresistible offer is not just something that happens online, but also happens in a face-to-face thing. So, Venus, the spirituality of the planet Venus, functions to turn knowledge into wisdom. That's why it's so cool, because we're going to be turning this knowledge here into absolute wisdom for you, because once you learn how to lay out an irresistible offer, and Landi's got some great stuff that she's just developed on this. If any of you want it, just contact her. If you've joined the Circle of Excellence in the last few months, you'll get it on our drip feed system. But firstly is to list out the system and what they'll get, whatever it is. So you'll get 10 packets of Plato, you'll get a service call every month, you'll get this, whatever it is, okay? Another case study on result. We're up to 4 or 5 case studies now. So the way in which that I've done them also, if you look at any of my webinars, I've literally done them like this. We've got, I think, 165 or 167 Circle of Excellence members. So I've gone Circle of Excellence member number 1 through to the last one. So when you see a case study, I have case study number 77, and that's a particular person. Case study number 132 or something, I use all the time because it's a great case study for us. So, and when people see the numbers on top, they go, wow, these people have got hundreds of case studies just like that. Well, I'm just using the number of the Circle of Excellence. It's just a case study. Not all of them are great. Some of them are not. Some of them didn't do any work. Some of them are fantastic. So I find that putting a number on them really helps. And then here's a real key with an irresistible offer. Before you go discounting or do any deals or anything like that, tell them what the retail price is. The way in which we do it is we basically add up everything we put in our Circle of Excellence off our website, because you can buy all the components individually. It comes up to about $42,000. So we talk to them about $42,000 of retail value. And then we ask 3 if-all questions. These if-all questions are magic bullets when it comes to sales. So I'll give you an example, and I'll do it based on our Circle of Excellence, and then I'll give you a couple of other examples. So I've showed you that it's $42,000 worth of value. I haven't told you what you're going to pay for it, the package price at this point. And then I'll say to you, so if all that did for you was got you on purpose and enjoying your business more, would it be worthwhile? Now, I'd only ask that question if I know your answer is going to be yes, and your answer would be yes. Or I'd say to somebody who's maybe financially focused, if all that $42,000 did was give you $84,000 return in year 1, would it be worthwhile? If they say yes, they're going to be really excited when they see the price point, right? So 3 if-alls. So now I'll give you a couple of other examples. Let's give an example based on, I'll give an example based on coaching, because we've got a couple of coaches on the call, and I'll give an example for you, Chris, based on your product. So one of yours, if all it did for you was get the children to play together and use their brains more, would it be worthwhile? Yes. If all it did for you, here's a fashion one. If all it did for you was allow you to use a different part of your brain to integrate some geometric shapes and different textures into your mainstream fashion and the way you normally design, would it be worthwhile? Yes. Okay. Here's one on coaching. If all this did for you was give you a relationship, take your relationship with your partner to the next level, would it be worth it? Yes. Or with your children, would that be worth it? Yes. Okay. So 3 if alls. Then you need a special deal, a why today, and add a novelty. I'm not a big fan of discounting. I think if you discount, then what you're saying is my stuff's not worth as much as it should be. I would rather do a special deal by saying, if we package things together and we add this and this and this, this is actually going to be my special deal today. Now, why today? I actually love what my friend Justin Herold said. He actually has a good one. He says, I'm going to do this today because I can. I love that statement. It really works. But a more compelling why today could be, we've got 3 months until Christmas. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to round off and onboard my new clients by Christmas. So I'm prepared to do this for today only. And then add a novelty to it. So the novelty could be something really that a person wants that's come up in your meeting. So this is a novelty that I use sometimes, because sometimes when I talk about the case studies, people get really excited about one or more of the case studies and they ask questions about the individual. So I could add the novelty. And if we do this today, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to broker a direct call between you and that case study that I talked about, so you guys can meet, because I think you'll get along well together and you'll have some great things to talk about. So, Terry, great question. If we don't have case studies or proof yet, what do we use as liftoff? I'll give you the answer for you and then more generically. So the answer for you is you do have case studies because you've helped people your whole life at work doing what you do. So you're going to have some case studies from that existing thing that you can use if you choose to. Now, they're not paying clients. They were free clients and they didn't even know they were clients, but you definitely can use that case study. And particularly if you get, and you might even ask them for permission to do that, which would be a great thing. And you might even get a better testimonial. Secondly, is you can use industry data. And this is the one that you have to fall back on if you don't have case studies or testimonials. Use industry data. So one of those might be, here's Bob. He did a very similar coaching program to the one that I'm offering here. He got a 28% increase in revenue in the first 3 months and actually repaired his marriage. Now, I know the program that he did, and actually what our program has builds on that even more, right? In the areas of blah, 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 and blah. You could do that. That could be one way. Or you could simply say what one of our clients is doing. They're using amazing industry statistics on wellness, basically saying, that their product, this component of it gives a 6% proven industry statistic for this type of thing, less absenteeism at work. So that's an industry data, so you can use that. Then we move from the novelty to why now. So often when you're producing the irresistible offer, somebody's going to say, think it over, or get back to me after Christmas, or all that sort of stuff, which really just means you haven't done the job well enough. But you want to try and shortcut that a little bit by giving 3 reasons: a social reason, a technological reason, and an economic reason why today is the absolute day to do it. So the social reason could be this. You're going to become part of something, a community, which is phenomenal. That could be a social reason. A technological reason could be the way in which we train you and the way in which we deliver our stuff is second to none because we use this and this and this app. Okay? An economic reason could be You know, we've got one at the moment that we're using. It's a real reason we're going to be putting our prices up by 20% in the new year. So that's an economic reason to do something now. Then call to action. You need this in your irresistible offer. You need to buy now because this and this and this. One of the things, my call to action is very simple with people. I just ask them, do you have any questions? We go through the questions. I answer the questions. I say, are there any other questions? So they say no. I say, so are you in or out? That's what I say to people, right? And then I deal with the people who and ah from that. But what it does, it brings it to a head. And then in your irresistible offer, having gifts is quite good. So I don't like the idea of putting in bonuses. I like the idea of, say, you know, stores do this very well. They say, hey, today if you buy this, we have a free gift, right? Guarantees, anything that will sweeten the offer. And the one that can work is a get it all basis. This works in consulting and coaching. I have used it once and it worked okay. I decided I didn't want the client in the end. I thought I did because I really liked her, but in fact she had no financial means. So I used the Get It All. The Get It All one was bring me 5 clients just like you and I'll give this all to you for free. Okay? So that's the Get It All. So you have a marketing cost, a client acquisition cost. Every business does. Work out what it is and give it to that person to, you know, get it all for free. So if it costs you 20% to onboard a new client, tell them to bring 5 clients and they can have it all. But generally you should get them to pay some sort of deposit beforehand. So that's the irresistible offer. And then we're just going to move into the sort of the final part here, which is Mercury, the decision. Now, what separates us from the animal kingdom? I love the spirituality of Mercury because the decision is very much what separates us from the animal kingdom, because the animal kingdom doesn't use cognitive reasoning. They have much more the fight or flight or freeze type of thing, which is the reptile brain. First decision here is 3 choices. So you, and this is one I use quite regularly. So you've listened to everything that I've said now. You know what to implement. So you've got all the information. Second choice is that you can do nothing with it, like most people do. Most people listen and do nothing with it. Secondly is you can actually do something with it, which is DIY. So go and do it all yourself, right? Which actually, as part of my presentation on my webinars, I have that the DIY is never a good option. And thirdly is the done with you option. So we do it with you. We help you. We guide you, etc., etc. The second part of the decision there is be choosy. This is a very strong part, and this is something I definitely use, particularly when I've got somebody who is on the cusp of coming on board or not. I say, listen, before we go any further, I have to tell you that I'm going to have to go and sell my business partner on taking you on board as a client because of the amount of time, effort, and energy we're going to invest in you. So can you give me 1 or 2 things that is absolutely going to sell them on the reason why we should take you above other people we're talking to at the moment? That being choosy really works if you use it properly. Time sensitive works. Okay, we only have till the end of the week. You've got to make the decision. We've only got 3 left. All of that sort of thing. Don't use it if it's not real. The way in which I use time sensitivity is really this way, is we actually do have a maximum number of Circle of Excellence people that we can take on in any one year. This year will be a little shy of that, I think, but basically the way the year's panning out and knowing what we've already got on for the rest of the year, but we can't take on 100 people at once. It's just impossible for us. We don't have the capacity. So us onboarding a maximum of about 2 a month is real for us. So therefore, if somebody's not prepared to make a decision now, they may have to wait 2 or 3 months to do that for us to even start working with them. And that's happened before several times. I love this one, the moral frame, the inner knowing. I use this all of the time with people. I say, okay, you can go to your head or your heart in making this decision. Your head's going to say justify, do all of this sort of stuff, da 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 da. But your head's got you to where you are in life today, and you're asking to go in a different direction. Actually, what you have already is you have an inner knowing. You know already whether this is right or wrong for you. So simply just tell us whether it's right or wrong for you. And if it's right for you, let's do it. That's a very good close and a very good decision-making thing that you can use. You need to clear up the myths. The myths are that your product may look one way, feel one way, taste one way, etc., be rolled out one way, be priced a certain way, etc. Use the onboarding process to help them get to a decision. So before you make a decision, let me tell you what's going to happen next. If it's a yes, this and this and this is going to happen. And the final one there is to get a solid yes or a no from them. No in-betweens, no grey areas, that type of thing. And actually in the framing part up front, many of you will probably know that in there I tell people we don't do maybes, okay? And to be honest, it's very, very rare that we do a maybe. Sometimes people convince me to do a maybe, but 99% of the time it doesn't happen. So let's just go back through everything from the start. We'll do it slowly, slide by slide. So firstly is preparation, designing a presentation, customizing it, practicing it, preparing a station, creating and controlling your environment. Moving to frame control with Neptune here, getting an introduction video, some sort of transference. If it's a referral, ring the referral as you're walking into the meeting and get them to actually do the introduction on a phone. Create the alpha state, in other words, take control, get some timing sensitivity into this. We're going to be here 40 minutes, inducing a yes state of mind, uncover your agenda and the why and the what. Moving into your story, your hero's journey, your big why, the solution that you've found. The uncover here, what's going well for you in a ideal place, where would you be in the future? If I wasn't here, how would you get there? What are 3 core issues that are holding you back? What have you done to solve those before, and what's that cost you? Turning up the pain, turning up the cost versus the alternative. Then pivoting, the 1 to 10 here on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Why now? Knowing, getting your case studies out there, getting some tension, some push-pull in there, bolding the issue, ask for 2 solutions, and would you like me to share? Terry will come to your question very soon. Pricing, having your graphic of your product, why it works and its unique selling points. A done with you scenario. The benefit of the benefit is this. Having some takeaway, in other words, take the prize away, or a question that does. Then unveiling it fully if you go to the next area. This is all the nuts and bolts, who it's for, who it's not for. Getting people to qualify themselves back to you, reassuring them that they can get where they want to go. The irresistible offer, listing out the whole system, case studies, 3 if-alls based on the retail price, then getting into why now, doing a special deal, adding some novelty, asking them to buy, putting in your gifts, your guarantees, those type of things. And finally, your decision. You already know what you want to do, so let's do this. Are you in, yes or no? Our onboarding process is this. And you've got 3 choices now. You can just listen and take no action. That's what many people do in many situations. You can take action, meaning DIY, or you could do it with you on a done with you basis. So Terry's question is, did you develop this growth by design sales presentation model? I assume lots more training to have to master this. This presentation is the culmination of being in sales for more years than I care to remember, certainly since the early 80s, and the combination of one of my mentors, Dave Van Hoos's stuff, Oren Klaff's material as well, one of the best deal makers in America, and probably a couple of other people as well, and then refining it, testing it, refining it, testing it, refining it, testing it. So the broad answer is, did I develop it? Absolutely yes. Yep, it's our stuff, so you can use it. It works. I presume lots more training to have to master this. The template that we send you to fill out basically covers this. So we're going to try and make it easy. There looks like there's many components in here, but it's actually relatively simple. Like most things in life, it's not what you add in, it's what you take out that makes it really powerful. So let's go to any final questions that people may have, whether it be on the chat or if you want to unmute your lines and do that, that'll be great. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so we can do that and listen to anybody who's got any questions.